Thank you. But now we need to see him and not us. Should go to speaker.
Whatever, can we make him the host?
Sure, we make him host. Will that make him?
We'll see.
It says you're the host now.
Yeah, we want you to be the person on the screen.
Yeah.
So anyway, just a little bit, as I was going through the speakers bureau that we have on our website, Brandon's was one of the speakers from the Portland Club. I gave him a very good review, and he'll be talking to us today about some mental health, which is a big initiative in our district. So I'm thrilled to have you here, Brandon. You're in Washington, correct?
Yes, I am. Bellingham, Washington.
Bellingham. So
Renee, you're gonna turn around so you can see us.
yes, I'm gonna try to turn you around so you can see us. Brandon, it's all yours from here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Okay, so guys, in today's presentation, we're going to be talking about mental health and a success story from somebody who's gone through challenges with mental health and is wanting to help make a difference in the lives of other people who have gone through mental health challenges. To start with, I'm going to give you a little bit of my upbringing as well as the 5 components that we'll cover today. The 5 components are hospitalizations, halfway house, mental health treatment programs, homelessness and homelessness recovery, and return to work phase. Each of these aspects have been part of my story and they've made me who I am today. And so I'm very opportunistic about the future because I've been through some very horrific situations. But through the grace of God and through my own efforts, I've gotten myself out of a bad place and I'm in a much better place now to where I'm trying to help promote mental health awareness for other people so that they can become the best versions of themselves and people can be more opportunistic about the future for other people who have a diagnosis, a mental health condition in general. But to start, before I continue on, I'm going to talk about my upbringing a little bit. So I grew up in Bellingham, Washington for most of my entire life, and I've had a lot of positive upbringings and a lot of positive experiences as a kid. Didn't have any really tremendous problems as a kid as well. And so it was like when things got difficult, it changed. But as a kid, I excelled in sports, excelled in school, and I did an amazing job just being a kid and just enjoying life as an individual. As a result, these challenges started to creep in after I returned home from studying abroad in Barcelona, Spain, for the first time in my life. I I went into a deep depression and started to isolate from family members and friends, and my whole mindset was starting to shift. And partly that was because of the fact that I re experienced a reverse culture shock that caused a lot of challenges with my mental health, and I had to work on myself and asking myself, how can I grow? How can I change? And what changed here? Because I was like, I was just fighting for my life, but it was like I wasn't getting anywhere and I wasn't getting any ground, breaking any ground and breaking any traction in my persistence and my growth and development. As a result, I had to work through these challenges by myself, but I also ended up in the hospital at the age of 19, 6 months after returning home from studying abroad. So that was a significant time in my life when I had to work through these challenges and ask myself, how am I going to get through this? As a result, while I was in the hospital, I was diagnosed for the first time at the age of 19 with a bipolar disorder diagnosis. So I don't know how many of you know much about mental health and mental illness, but to give you my own viewpoint about bipolar disorder, is it's a mood changing type of condition. So my mindset and my mood kind of fluctuates at times. I can go into a deep depression or I can go into a hypomanic state of mind where I'm like more wired and more just engaged with other people in a positive way. But it's hard because you have to find that balance. And so for some people it's medications, some people it's therapy, some people it's having a supportive people in your corner. All those things are important in my opinion for somebody who has a diagnosis because not everybody can go through these challenges by themselves and work through these challenges when you've received a diagnosis with bipolar disorder. As a result, this was a transformative time in my life period. At the age of 19, when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I had to start learning different ways about how to live my life. asking myself, what do I need to work on myself to grow? How can I change my mindset, change my narrative about myself? Because when you're diagnosed with a mental illness, a health condition, there's a lot of limitations that people kind of set on you because you're not able to do the best that you can, or you're not successful. You can't be successful anymore. That's not true. And I perfectly hope that this video presentation will help give you guys more insight into somebody who hasn't given up. I quite frankly don't care about what other people think about me in a way when I'm trying to work on myself, because I believe that I've come so far, and that quitting is not an option for me. And that's what I feel like what's helped me gain momentum and gain mental clarity throughout my challenges is that I've been able to ask myself, how can I get better? How can I work through these challenges? And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's challenging, but no, giving up is not an option. So that's where it all boils down to, is asking myself, how can I grow? Let's transition now to the five components that I was going to address for today, starting with hospitalizations. So the first hospitalization that I ever experienced was back in 2016 in the spring. And I was like totally unsure about what was going to happen, because I was like, I had never been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but it actually ran in my family. So my grandfather actually was diagnosed with the condition at a younger age. And so that's kind of, I think, a contributing factor to why the doctors gave me this diagnosis. But as a result, each hospitalization, I'm going to give you a more generalized approach right now. Different hospitalizations have different motives, different reasons for why you have to go through them, why you have to experience these challenges. And so my hope is that this is giving you more insight into somebody who's gone through the challenges with mental health and the hospitalizations, and been able to get out of these challenges, and being able to live a happy and healthy lifestyle, and genuinely be content and happy with what I have. So each hospitalization is different though, because when you go through a hospitalization, you're going through challenges with the hospital staff. They're interviewing you, they're having conversations with you, they're trying to determine where you're at mentally and trying to help you get into a better state of mindset. And most of the time, it's not just a one day quick fix. I've been through probably three or four major hospitalizations since I was 19 years old. And unfortunately, it's hard to say that because of the fact that it was so difficult and challenging for me to work through these challenges. But I was able to work through my challenges by being opportunistic about the future, and being hopeful, and keeping my eyes on the prize for success, to try and work through my own challenges, and recognizing that I can grow, that I can become the best version of myself, and that failure is not an option for me. So the hospitalizations are different in their own way, in a nutshell, and I hope that this is giving you more insight into somebody who's actually lived the experiences and wants to see other people who have gone through challenges, or you might have a loved one who is going through challenges that can maybe benefit from what I'm saying right now. So that's hospitalizations. Halfway house. This is all these components in my that I'm talking about are significant parts of my life story in my early and mid 20s, when I've been able to work through these challenges. And the reason why I'm sharing them with you is because they're helping you gain more insight and clarity on what I've experienced, and how I've been able to bounce back through these challenges that have been severely difficult and very hard to work through. As a result, halfway house. So after another hospitalization that was really unfortunate and difficult in 2017, in the summer of 2017, I was discharged to a halfway house, or a outpatient um, mental health living facility called Agate Heights here in Bellingham, Washington. And it was a very traumatizing experience for me, to be honest with you. The first time I got there, it wasn't harmful or anything like that, but it's just a matter of, I was in that state of mindset where I didn't want to isolate, and the people that were living at the Agate Heights facility in Bellingham were very mentally not there. And so for me, picture a 20-year-old who is very alert and very upbeat, and very just has a positive cognitive functionality. I had to go through these challenges by myself, and I had to experience loneliness, experience times when I couldn't talk with other people. And so it caused me a lot of pain, emotional pain and frustration about why I ended up here in this situation. But there's hope. There was hope. Even in the midst of these challenges, I found a way to think about a positive perspective, being persistent, being patient, and not giving up on myself, not giving up on my dreams, not giving up on what I have, what I believed I have in store for myself. And what's helped me throughout the years, folks, is the fact that I've been able to ask myself, well, you know what? If I'm going to continue to try and build myself success in my life, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it to try and grow and to try and find contentment and peace of mind and safety, security, purpose, and freedom. All these things that are important for me to have wellness, to have an understanding of myself. That's also possible. And so I believed in myself, even though I was in this halfway house. I started to think about what was the thoughts that I was thinking. I was thinking about viewpoints about how I can change my life. I viewed myself in a positive light. I was trying to not beat myself up about the situation, about why I'm here. As a result, I ended up being transferred to living in a 90-day mental health treatment program called Skyline Trail. And this program or mental health organization is located in Atlanta, Georgia. And it just worked out that my parents were able to help get me set up to living through this program. And even though I wasn't, so I ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and a month after living in the halfway house. This was back in 2017. And I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for about 3 months. And it was a wonderful transformative experience for me to help myself learn how to deal with my bipolar disorder diagnosis, learn how to challenge myself, challenge the status quo, and telling myself I can be great at something, I can grow. Now, even at this point, yet this was back in 2017. Even at this point, I was just collecting all of the dots for how to better share my message of hope and resiliency for other people. I didn't know that I wanted to be a professional speaker during that time period, and that progressed through the times and the challenges of my experiences with my life's journey, my life story. And as a result, the Skyline Trail, it's called Skyline Trail, the mental health organization, and Skyline Trail was a transformative place for me because it helped give me more insight and clarity on how to work through my challenges when dealing with that's related to mental health, and as well as just family therapy sessions and stuff like that. And so there's just so many different aspects behind the program Skyline Trail that was an asset for me to help me learn how to better cope with my challenges and how to better change my mindset and recognize that change is possible, that transformation is possible, and that I don't have to be alone all through this challenge. That's the thing, is like recognizing that you have supportive people in your life and really just gravitating towards them when you feel like when you have a question or you have a problem. Knowing that you have other people in your corner is such a huge asset, because people can feel more confident, they can feel more opportunistic about the future, they can feel more determined because they know they have a lot of supportive people in their corner. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is um moving on to the next topic is homelessness and homelessness recovery. So the homelessness and homelessness recovery, I was living in Long Beach, California for over 2 years. And as a result, I had to suddenly move back to Bellingham, Washington after living in Long Beach for 2 years. And I had to work through these challenges, work through the transformation process and the changes that I had to make. It was very difficult, to be honest with you all. It just, I had to learn to accept my reality and accept the changes that I experienced. The homelessness situation, I was homeless in Bellingham for a total of 1 month before I ended up being hospitalized for another 26 days. And this was about 2 years ago from now. I was homeless in November of 2022. And this was a hard experience for me because I had never been homeless in my life. But the problem was that I wasn't being as open for help, and the help that my family, they because I wasn't being because I wasn't being in the right state of mindset for knowing what I need to work on, and I wasn't willing to work. I thought I had it all figured out even 2 years ago. So that's where it's like I have to recognize when when I need help and when I can be okay. Excuse me. So as a result, the homelessness situation was very difficult. I had to work through these challenges by myself. I had to ask myself, how do I grow? How am I going to get through this situation? So I tried to just take it one step at a time. But the thing is, you never know when your next meal is coming from. You never know when your next place of living is, or where you're sleeping tonight. Those are the types of realities that ring in my brain about what happened when I was experiencing this homelessness situation. As a result, it's made me who I am, and I've been able to successfully bounce back from this situation, and I'm growing into a better state of mindset currently. And it's been over 2 years since I've been homeless, so I've been able to be consistent and self-sustaining myself. So back with these experiences are all what have helped shape me as a person. They've made me a better person. They're helping me grow and find more stability and peace of mind and persistence. And here's another thing I'll say. I'll talk to you about self-advocacy. The topic of self-advocacy is very important because if you or a loved one is struggling with mental illness, you have to be able to be a self-advocate for yourself. Give yourself that ability to say, hey, I'm working through these challenges. It's made me who I am, but I'm not going to let it stop me from becoming the best version of myself. Or I'm going to be able to be opportunistic about the future, be positive with myself, and tell myself that I can work through these challenges, work through these changes, and grow to become the best version of myself. All these viewpoints, how you think about yourself is what you end up becoming. And so I read a lot of self-help books that talks about that, and some of the things that they talk about that is so transformative is to recognize that your mindset is what you are limiting to yourself. If you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, then you already lost. And so for me, for years, and even like now, regularly, I do a lot of reading to help myself gain more clarity and peace of mind and persistence and patience to work through my challenges so that I can become the best version of myself. And I recognize that these types of transformation processes, they take time. They take a lot of commitment. They take a lot of persistence, and recognizing that change and recovery is possible is what I stand for. It's what I'm trying to get at for other people, to give them more hope and peace of mind and mental clarity for themselves. Okay, the last one that we'll talk about. Actually, we're gonna do a quick pause. Could you put on the QR code to help? I'd like to invite all the audience members to do a quick survey that's about 2 minutes long, and then give me your hands up when you're done, and then I'll finish up the speech.
It's up there, Brandon.
Thank you.
Go ahead and put his face back up there if you can have it.
Just give me a thumbs up or a hand. Give me your hand when you're ready.
It's good.
Generally, how are we doing?
Free survey. They could go another 15 seconds, Brandon. I think it's all yours.
Okay, cool. All right. So, in the last point that I'm going to make, it talks about return to work phase. So I've had a lot of different jobs in my lifetime, and I've worked hard. I've always been a hard-driven person and wanting to work in my success and working on myself. A couple of viewpoints about where I've worked. I've worked for grocery retail, automotive sales, warehousing, car wash in California, and then now I'm currently working part-time at a mental health organization called Walk Clubhouse as a generalist, and I work there to help support other people with a mental illness who are working through their challenges and trying to become the best versions of themselves despite having a mental illness. And so this has been a very transformative job that for me because while I'm going to school right now and I'm working on the part-time job, it gives me purpose. And that's what a lot of people who I'm recommending, people who have a diagnosis, they need to have purpose in their life. If they want to succeed, if you want to succeed, you have to create your purpose and look for lucrative opportunities to where you can provide your gifts and your talents that come from you and come from God to help make a difference in the lives of other people. And so for me, what I started working at the clubhouse about 6 months ago. I started in like July of this year, and through these challenges, through my life story, it's given me more purpose. It's giving me the ability to help other people from my own gifts. And my hope is that this is giving you more inspiration and understanding of somebody who just didn't quit. I refuse to quit. I continue to work on myself, growing on myself, and becoming the best version of myself. Constantly asking myself, how am I getting better? And how could I be growing in a better state of mind right now? And my point is that transformation and change is possible, healing and recovery is possible, and I'm the bread and butter of that statement because I've been able to work through my challenges. Now, I will say this. I do have days, of course, when I do struggle. There because I'm not perfect. Life isn't perfect. And yes, I sometimes go through hills and valleys of mental health challenges, but I've been able to work through finding ways that are healthy and healthy ways to work through my challenges so that I can grow and find success and contentment in my life and happiness and joy. And so, in wrapping up of this presentation, I hope that this is giving you a lot more understanding about somebody who's been a success story with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder and been able to change my life for the better. Thank you.
Brandon wanted to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. If you have any questions, Darby?
Yeah, so, maybe not, but the question be, because it is the ebbs and flows, how do they actually clinically diagnose you as bipolar? Because obviously you may go in and feel great that day. So how do they come about to find out? Do they have to see you when you're high and you're low? What's
Yeah,
the
so
say you're
when
you're technically bipolar?
when I was diagnosed, it was very like I was there for a longer period of time, about a week or 2 weeks in time period. So they give you the clinicians are like reviewing you for a certain time period and giving you and just observing your behavior because you're constantly being watched by nursing staff as well as the providers, the doctors. And I was there for a long enough period of time to where they were like, you know what, we want to we or and then they just gave me the diagnosis of bipolar disorder. So that's kind of how I approached it, and that's where I'm like, and I've been through so many different setbacks. It's like that's why I recognize that, being responsible for my mental health is a huge task, but it can give me more reward in the long run by taking care of my mental health and recognizing that this is something, the bipolar disorder, this is something that I need to be aware of.
Thank you, Brandon. Anybody else? Jane?
Hello there, I'm Jane Van Kuren, and I want to send you the pictures that we took in the meeting today. I don't know your address. I can look things up. Everybody says send it by email, but it'd be more fun to send you a card.
Oh, thank you.
So can you give me your mailing address?
Yeah. Do you want to do it now or?
Well, at some point, yeah. Because before we close the meeting.
Why don't I give it to Renee? Why don't I give it to Renee?
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, that
All
works.
right,
That's
all
fine.
right, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Mark?
Hey, Brandon, thank you for presenting today. My question is, what do you suggest is the best way to approach or initiate a dialogue with someone with a mental health challenge that perhaps doesn't want to have or isn't aware that they might need help? So what's the best way to start a conversation? And
Yes.
then what are the ways that, in your experience, what are the mistakes people have made in trying to have a conversation about mental health that you know, based upon your experience, is always going to fail? So, hey, if you're going to talk about mental health, don't talk about it this way.
Yeah, I would say talking about empathy. That's the word that comes to mind because when you're an empathetic person, you're meeting the person where they're at versus when people aren't trying to be cognitive about the feelings of that other person and trying to be aware of what they're going through and putting yourselves in the shoes of the person who is struggling with their mental health. Putting yourself in in their shoes will be a great approach to working on and working how to understand how to help them because they might know the answers but they just don't know how to communicate it verbally. And so that's where I talk about elevating empathy is a huge important aspect for finding sustainability for that individual and helping giving them clarity in their life.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Do you want the other half of that question answered?
Oh, yeah. So the second is, what attempts have you experienced or heard of where people have tried to have that conversation and you would tell folks, hey, don't ever start this way?
Yeah,
What are some faux pas?
when they don't when you're not aware of the feelings of the person and trying to be open around what they're saying, so empathy in general, just when you're not being empathetic, you're really destroying the conversation and the relationship that you have with this person because you're not giving yourself space to meet. It's all about meeting the person where they're at. When you can meet the person where they're at, that's when you can find contentment to make connections on how to help them when they're able to feel comfortable, when they feel comfortable sharing their problems with you, that's when you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's great advice in every aspect of life.
Thanks, Brandon. Anybody else?
I
So,
just want to say, Brandon, I appreciate you being here today, and I think I've shared this previously, but and hopefully I'm not putting her too much on the spot. But I know Lynn has inspired me in the past to talk about my anxiety and depression that I deal with, and having you here today, furthers that kind of courage to say that and hopefully break some of the stigma that I think surrounds mental health and mental wellness in our society. So I appreciate people like you and Lynn who in my view have kind of helped me to publicly talk about that for myself. So
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
I have a question for you, Brandon.
Yes.
You shared that you were diagnosed after you returned from Spain. So you had been to Spain for a year as an exchange student. You came
I was there
home.
for a couple months, but
Okay. So you were there, you came home and realized, or whatever hit the road that you went on, you were diagnosed as bipolar. As you look back through your life, can you see the signs and maybe the symptoms that you might have experienced along the way that could have been diagnosed earlier?
no, I don't think so. I think it was just I think it was a it was a situation that was out of my control. and maybe it was destined to happen, but I try not to dwell on what I can't control, because if you focus on things you can't control, then you're gonna create a lot of problems for yourself. And so I've tried to give myself empathy and telling myself, hey, things are out, not there's only so much I can control, and I'm gonna focus on what I can control and let everything else that it's out of my control, don't worry about it. And just because too many people in this world, if you want to be successful, you have to just recognize that whatever you are doing, that's what you can do. But what everybody else is doing and saying about you, or for themselves, they're doing that for themselves in their own way. So that would be my answer.
All right, thanks a bunch, Brandon. Anybody else? Yeah, Lynn?
Hello, I'm Lynn. I just wanted to
Hi.
say, in one good way, approach it with a health issue is to respect their dignity by asking, may I ask you this?
Yes.
See if they're open to talking about it with you.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because you have to be sensitive about the feelings. So you don't know what people's backgrounds are, and sometimes they might be triggered when they're talking about different subjects around mental health. So definitely being able to approach it in a way where you're like, "Hey, can we have a conversation right now? Are you up for discussing how we can be of help to you?" Those are the types of questions that are more they pose a thought reaction that helps give people more um, sustainability to be open to asking for help.
Yeah, and this club has been really instrumental in being very supportive to me.
Okay, that's awesome.
Well, Brandon, thank you for, in the words of Brene Brown, for being vulnerable and brave, sharing your story, and
Yes.
being an inspiration for those of I too suffer from depression. So I feel you. Thank you
Okay.
for your inspiration. Anything else? All right, we're gonna go ahead and finish our meeting, but we appreciate you being here this morning.
Renee, can you send me the recording later?
I sure will.
Awesome. Thank you very
All
much.
right, take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.